an insight on what my job is and what I do every day.
Every year in America, 6,000 children are born.
Thank you, and good afternoon. My name is Kayla McKeon, and I am the manager of grassroots advocacy at the National Down Syndrome Society. I am also the first registered lobbyist for Down syndrome. It is such an honor to speak to all of you here at Riding the Wave of Self-Advocacy Conference, and I totally wish I could be there in person. Next slide, please, Sid. Thank you. I would like to start today by sharing the story of how I came to work for the National Down Syndrome Society and become a lobbyist. I am from Syracuse, New York, home of the Orange. When I was 18 months old, my parents enrolled me in an early education program at Main Street School. I progressed through school alongside my classmates, and I graduated at age 18. And as soon as inclusive education became possible, I was always in an inclusive setting, but I'm not going to deny there were bumps and stumbling blocks along the way. My parents always thought it was best for me to be included with my classmates and placed in settings that challenged me to reach my highest potential. There were times when they pushed me, but it was always because they knew I could succeed. The hardest years were the ones that teachers did not believe in me. The years that teachers and support staff encouraged me, challenged me, or invested in my success were the years that I grew the most. I began elementary school with a positive experience in first grade, thanks to my incredible teacher, Miss Nina Brown. Her classroom has stations that allow students to rotate through various subjects and activities. This learning style kept me engaged by keeping me from sitting in one place all day. This was definitely better for me. In second grade, however, was not nearly a positive of an experience. I started hiding and running away. And I'm probably guessing I know you're thinking, oh, she would never do that, right? Well, I did, and this resulted in me being assigned a teacher's aide all to myself. Movement throughout the school day was brought back into my schedule again, and in seventh grade when we began changing classes. And I will say that transitioning from class to class didn't take a little while. With the help of my one-on-one, it did become easier. Around the same time, when I was 13 years old, give or take, I got involved with Special Olympics. I still play many sports each season. Those two Special Olympics that I did give my first speech. I really liked it, and I learned that I had the ability to speak for others who could not speak for themselves. I continued to speak on behalf of the Special Olympics as a Congress member and ambassador for them. I actually served as the Athens Greece as a working athlete in 2011. So this is a picture of me with my medals. Pretty cool, right? I earned awards in 8th and 9th grades for character, commitment, and courage, English, and math. My first grade volleyball was in the 90s. And I got 93 on my math revisions exam. If you are from New York, you know how tough that was. To be honest, though, I wasn't prepared for transition when I got out of high school. The only thing available to me at the time was a self-contained program, but I learned how to browse the internet and type. It was a 6-month certificate program for adults. I am pretty fast on the keyboard because of it. But that's also when I started looking at other options. That's when my circle of determination came about. The circle is made up of friends and family that get together and brainstorm ideas about what I want to do, such as going to college, public speaking, and volunteer opportunities. You even have mentors that help me set goals and reach them. Something else that helped me transition are my friends and family. I have many friends, and they are very important to me. We do many activities together, and always out in the community. My friends and I partake in Special Olympics, where we get to learn the sport and hang out. We like to go to the movies, go out to dinner, and we do a young actors workshop. I'm involved in my church community and the community in general. This is where we like to talk and have dinner with each other. One of the qualities that I like to have my friends is to have meaningful conversations with them and just being able to listen. This is another quality that I have, as well as my friends, just like honesty. And to me, this is very important. I care for my friends, and they care about me. And this is one of the many reasons why I love my friends. Since I am a people person and very much outgoing, I love meeting new people and making new friends. And as part of my transition out of high school, I also attend undergrad community college, taking some non-credit courses. But I thought to myself, it doesn't make sense. I'm doing other work without earning any credits. But I do like the classes. So I've been taking one course per semester for credit. I can happily say I am now more than halfway to earning my associate's degree, and I already started back up. I love taking classes with my peers. Many of my classmates are a little younger than me, or older than me, but so what? I'd like to tell you a little story that my mom has frequently told me. My mom had an aunt with Down syndrome. Her name was Angie. She died in her 30s with a heart problem. My mom taught her how to write her name, and she said that she was smart, like me. Angie used to stay at home on the ottoman and watch TV all day. This wasn't normal. If I did that, my parents would surely kill me. But that was the extent of her life. So let's be forward ahead, about 40 years. So much has changed, and so much has become available to me as my aunt was my age. My aunt had no choices, but look what we have available to us. I started advocating a number of years ago. I started educating others who are differently abled by going to elementary schools, moved on to middle schools, colleges, and the School of Nursing. I was trying to motivate them to do the best that they can do. My message to kids in school is to persevere. When I visit primary schools, I speak about education, employment, and my accomplishments. I self-advocacy and now legislation that affects us all. To affects all of us that are differently abled. I have a passion for speaking and motivating others to try the best and never give up. When speaking at colleges, I speak to many future teachers and share my experiences in school with them and insight into how I learned best. I love speaking to the School of Nursing. I talk to them about Down syndrome and how they should treat new parents when they welcome a little baby in the world. I tell them congratulations and to tell them to congratulate them and that Down syndrome is not a sad diagnosis. I tell them that we are living proof of much more than what is expected of us, and of all things that we are capable of doing. I tell them about my friends who own businesses that are thriving, like John Cronin and John's Crazy Socks, or Blake Pyron who owns Blake's Snow Shack in Stingo, Texas, or Carrie Bergeron, who goes around the country speaking and singing, who's also a third-degree black belt in karate, or Sujat Desai. I tell them about a girl who just got her dream job at Target. I could go on and on. Trust me, I won't. But we are exceeding expectations every day. Please don't let parents limit their children. 7 years ago, I became involved with the National Down Syndrome Society, attending their events and going on Capitol Hill to try and pass laws. In 2016, I was named the Self Advocate of the Year. Slide 5, please. Thank you. Meanwhile, back in Syracuse, I met John Cacco, who was running for the U.S. House of Representatives. He handed me his business card, so I handed him mine. He called me and said if he was elected, he wanted me to come and work for him. When he won, I became an intern in his Syracuse office. I represented him at different events and did various office work. That June, he asked me to go with him to a disability conference in Washington, D.C. for the National Down Syndrome Society. It was there at the end of the meeting that I was offered the manager of grassroots advocacy. I started in October 2017. I am now the first registered lobbyist with Down syndrome. So thank you, Sydney. With my position as the first registered lobbyist with Down syndrome, I go to Capitol Hill and speak to many members of Congress on issues, like I did when I volunteered with the Buddy Walk on Washington, our two-day advocacy conference. The first day, we participate in advocacy training, and the second day, hundreds of advocates converge on Capitol Hill to talk to congressional members to discuss laws like Kevin and Ivanka's law is named in honor of two boys with autism who parents I also helped lobby to pass the Original Able Act as a volunteer, and now the Able to Work Act and the Able Financial Planning Act as a lobbyist. These laws allow me and my friends who are differently able to have savings accounts and meaningful employment without giving up our benefits. So what do I do at NDSS, Cindy? Thank you. With my job as the manager of grassroots advocacy and as a registered lobbyist, I am part of the policy and advocacy team at NDSS. And I love collaborating with my colleagues every single day. Right, Sydney?
Right.
I also work with our DS ambassadors. They are an incredible grassroots network that help us get things done in Washington, D.C. and across the country. Meeting and speaking with members of Congress is a lot of my job. It's important they know what our priorities are in the Down syndrome community. In normal times, I get to travel for my job too. I've been all over America, from Los Angeles to Bismarck, North Dakota, and Nashville, Tennessee. Is one of my favorite cities. Traveling is important for my job, so I can keep spreading the message of what we are working on at the National Down Syndrome Society and get others to help, which I'll get to in a few minutes. I love working with everyone that we have on staff. At the National Down Syndrome Society, about 30% of our staff has Down syndrome. We walk the walk and talk the talk at NDSS. They are the best. But one of the best parts of my job is that I get equal pay for equal work. And I'll talk about that in a moment. So how about some tips and tools, Sid? Thank you. I love being a self-advocate and sharing my voice. And always remember, nothing worth doing is easy. Nothing is beyond our reach. We all work together. It's important to know that advocacy is just telling your personal story. People who make decisions need to hear from us so they know what is going on in their lives and in the community. I find it helpful to talk through my story with a friend or one of my parents or my colleagues. And it's definitely helpful so we can figure out what parts of my story that I can use to help push legislation. It's also beneficial to find an organization you can work with, like the National Down Syndrome Society, or even with all of you. Organizations like ours can work with your help to set up meetings, or we can just help you talk to your personal story. What's the next tips and tricks there, Sunny? The next step is to meet with people making the decision. They really do want to hear what you have to say. It's important to be punctual and dress professionally for these meetings as a sign of respect, even if it is through Zoom, like we're doing now. Plan ahead before going into the meeting. Know which building and which room number, and give yourself plenty of time to get there. Sketch out what you're going to say as well. While you're planning ahead, consider who your audience is. Is this the person who interacts with the disability community a lot? Or not really? Is education or job an important issue to them? Can you talk about your education or your job? Absolutely. Be assertive and energetic. Get some coffee before the meeting, or just go for a quick walk or jog to get your blood pumping. Policy makers need to know how passionate you are about these issues. You can show them how important they are with your energy. And be gracious too. Thank the policymakers for taking the time out of their schedules. Thank you. So you're prepared, your personal story, and talk about issues with someone who can change some of these laws. The next step is to follow through. Report back to the organization you set up a meeting with. Tell them how it went. At NGSS, we track a lot of these meetings, and the more data we have, the better it is, and the easier it is for all of us to work together to get things done. Next, do send a follow-up note, thanking the staff or policymaker for their time, and reminding them of the important issues you have discussed. It will make them remember you and put a face to a name. Then continue to follow up. Send another note, reminding them of these issues. Schedule another meeting in a few months. Also, you can send it for action alerts on our website. It'll just take a few seconds to send your policymaker's office an email. It is super easy to build these relationships because they do want to hear your voice. Next, this was a video that touches on some very important issues that I lobby on, and I'll talk about it after the video.
How about welcome you to your table? Thank you.
Thank you. So what is Down syndrome? Down syndrome is the fact that Down syndrome doesn't hold me or my friends back. There's old antiquated laws that do. Laws like sub-minimum wage and marriage access. Laws that prevent people from working full time because of income limitations. The list of things we are trying to fix is so important to ensuring my differently abled friends and I can pursue our dreams, accomplish what we want to accomplish, and live the lives we want to live. During the end sub-minimum wage, improve and expand able programs, address these income limitations so people with disabilities can work and retain their benefits, allow us to get married, and offer tax incentives to businesses that hire us. So let's talk about transformation to competitive employment. Thank you. A big example of law syndrome is this 80-year-old provision within the Fair Labor and Standards Act, also known as Section 14C. This outdated law allows employers to get a special wage certificate from the Department of Labor to pay workers with disabilities less than federal or state minimum wage. Some people working under the special wage certificates earn pennies per hour. That's right. People like me are still getting paid cents an hour, while other individuals performing the same task are paid at least minimum wage. Back in 1938, everyone assumed that a worker with a disability was less productive than a normal or able-bodied worker. Today, we know that workers with disabilities, just given equal opportunity and appropriate tools or technologies, can perform just as well as their non-disabled counterparts. We want to end some minimum wage and phase out 14C. We want the Transformation to Competitive Employment Act to pass, so it can be phased out in 6 years. We want to find gainful and meaningful competitive jobs and earn minimum wage or higher. It is not fair. We want to be treated like everyone else and earn the same amount. We want to work and be paid the same salary. Why should we be paid less than someone else for doing the same job? So let's talk about another issue. It's called the marriage access for people with special abilities. Another issue that's very important to me is marriage. And unfortunately, I have to choose between marrying the person I love and keeping my vital benefits. So I called up my friend, Congressman Kako, and told him that I want to get married someday and that I need to find a boyfriend first. Any help? Just kidding. But this law was holding me back. He asked how he could help, and I told him how crucial it was to fix this law. A few months later, he introduced the marriage access for people with special abilities, also known as MAPSA, that allows people with intellectual and developmental disabilities to keep their benefits when they get married. And I am so grateful that he introduced this legislation. And now we are working so hard to make it pass. So let's get into talking about COVID-19, please. Just like everyone else, we at NDSS had to shift everything we were doing and working on to address the immediate needs of our community with this COVID-19 pandemic. We took a survey of our community to see exactly what everyone was facing, and our community is facing a lot. Here is what we are pushing in Washington, D.C. Funding for Medicaid home and community-based services. These services are more important now than they ever been before. These services keep people with disabilities at home and in their communities, rather than in congregate settings where this virus spreads very rapidly. And this funding is so crucial. Financial relief for adult dependents. Under the CARES Act, many Americans received a check from the government. Dependents aged 16 and under get $500 for their families or caregivers. But anyone over that age is out on this funding. Many individuals with Down syndrome and other disabilities are claimed as dependents when they are adults, and they missed out. We are advocating that these checks should include adults with Down syndrome and other disabilities too. Funding for compensatory services. So many students with Down syndrome and other disabilities rely on services that they receive in school. Unfortunately, since schools have been shut down, our students cannot effectively receive these services. So we know when things are back to normal, fingers crossed, that many of our students will need to catch up, and they will rely on compensatory services to make that happen. We need to let policymakers know that this will happen, and the money needs to be there when it does. At NDSS, this is the beginning of all of this. We have been putting together and compiling resources for our community. We are constantly updating it, so please take a look so you can follow this resource link to our website for our fact sheet and many other sheets as well. Lastly, let's take some action. Okay, so now I'm going to ask everyone to take out your phones and now text Law Syndrome to 52886. Law Syndrome to 52886. This will send you up on our phone to action alerts, so you can help us and email your members of Congress on these important issues. Again, one more time, it is Law Syndrome to 52886. You can also visit our website and learn our DS Ambassador program. We keep our ambassadors informed on the best ways to advocate on current issues, and we would love to have you. You can also sign up for our newsletters as well as our emails. And lastly, thank you. Thank you. If you're interested in keeping up with me, and I hope you do, you can follow my podcast and blog, which can be found on our NDSS website at www.ndss.org. I interview members of Congress, CEOs of companies like Tim Shriver of Special Olympics, the board of directors of NDSS, as well as other self-advocates. I talk to them about the issues and why they are important to us today, and what NDSS stands for. I also blog like things like education and advocacy. My blog is also on the NDSS website as well. If you know of someone you think would be important for me to interview or any ideas you should feel I should blog about, just send me an email at kmckeon@ndss.org. And this is a great way to get your message to be heard, as well as my blog is another way to read my take on subjects. I believe in advocating for ourselves. It is so important that our voices are heard, and I hope one day to be out of a job, because that would mean that individuals with Down syndrome are finally treated equally, that we are treated with respect, and that we have equal rights. It would mean that my job is not news. The CBS Nightly News feature on the roadworks department I was on would not be news when we get married, graduate from college, drive a car, and find meaningful employment receiving equal wages. These are normal life goals that we share with others. We are more alike than different. Thank you. And thank you for letting me speak to all of you. It's a real pleasure.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yes, that was great.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And if it's okay with you, we'll open it up to some questions right now.
Perfect. I would love questions.
Wonderful. All right, Doug, I'm just gonna, or did you already unmute everyone?
No, I haven't done that. You can do that if you like.
All right, I will do that. And if anyone has a question for
I do.
Kayla,
I got a question.
Okay.
Sure, please.
Kayla, when you were little, how did your parents treat you as you got older?
My parents treated me like any other kid, because they wanted me to be equal, and that's the best thing my parents did because they wanted me to be treated just like everybody else. So there's no, even though I was their daughter, there's no exceptions to what those standards were for me.
That's good.
I got a question.
Please.
How them treat you in school?
In school, I was bullied physically and verbally, but the way you portray yourself by talking to somebody that you trust is what matters the most. But otherwise, I was treated well in school other than the bully. And I didn't bully back because bullies only fight the battles that they think they can win, and retaliation is never a strong option.
Okay.
I got a question.
Did you have any
question? How long did it take you to get your driver's license?
It took me 5 road tests before I could obtain my license.
Well, hey, at least we got it, right?
What was that?
Yes. Nice. How long have you been working at the Capitol?
I've been working with NDSS since October of 2017, and the Special Olympics and NDSS, I've done a couple of days with them, so I have been advocating on the cable as long as I've been able to. Can you please repeat the question? Sorry.
That's okay. I said it would be nice if I ever get down that way to meet you at the Capitol.
Absolutely.
That way
I love being able to walk alongside congressmen and women, and just being able to talk with them is even better.
Exactly, because they need to know what we need in our lives. You're doing an awesome job. Thank you.
Kayla, I
Thank you.
got
I
another
appreciate it.
question. I got another question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How old was you when you started working for the Down syndrome?
I started when I was 30 years old.
Yeah, that's cool. I just wondered. Thank you.
No problem. As to Deb's question, I live in Syracuse, New York. And what I find challenging right now is this pandemic because I can't travel to meet anybody face to face. But this fight going on for Down syndrome is always ongoing.
Yeah, it's tough right now trying to get anything done with the Corona.
And the other challenge is sometimes is getting on the congressperson's schedule. That's, I gotta say, the trickiest.
Delmer has a question.
Sure.
I want to know, have you ever thought about writing your biography, like an autobiography?
I might need help with that, but I never thought I would be able to write one. Need help.
Biography.
It's awesome. I would love to read it.
I think most people, and I think most disabilities people should write their biographies. Because that way people would feel because in that way that would give a way for people to understand more about us.
Absolutely. Like my friend David Egan just wrote his, and his is more like than different. So I suggest reading David Egan's book.
Cool.
And
Thank
he's
you.
another stuff advocate.
Who was that again? I want to write it down.
David Egan, David, Egan, Eagon, is more like than different.
Thank you.
No problem. He's an awesome, incredible stuff advocate that I'm sure you'll love to get to know as well.
Dumbass, how can I keep in contact with you?
I love that question. If you want to stay in contact with me, you can always email me. Here, I'm not putting it in the chat. It's McKeon
Okay.
at ngss.org.
There it is.
So if you have any other questions or you just want to talk, you can feel free to email me.
Thank you.
And I put the email right in the chat function on the bottom, so you can write it down at your own whenever you're ready. Yes, that is the book.
I got a question.
Yeah.
How did you finish school?
What about school again? Sorry.
How did you finish school?
I am not done with school. I'm trying to pursue my associate's degree in general studies, and I'm taking the classes that I need right now. So school will always be ongoing for me because I'm trying to pursue, and I need 60 credits to obtain my degree. Right now, I have 44 credits towards my degree.
Wonderful.
What are you studying to be?
Right now I'm just trying to get my associate's degree in general studies. And then I've always said I want to get my BA in psychology, and I know there'd be a lot more schooling.
Why won't you run for president?
A very good question.
Yeah, think me too.
Maybe we'll see. And I have lots of stepping stones right now, and milestones I'm trying to achieve. If somebody nominates me, I won't be opposed.
There you go. I love it.
Good answer.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you for being with us today.
Absolutely, this is great. I love these discussions.
Yes.
If you want to continue these discussions, I would love that.
Kayla, it sounds as though the questions are slowing down and people with questions can jump in anytime.
Sure.
I wondered if maybe we could use this time to talk about what you perceive as legislative priorities right now, and then maybe get some input from everybody on the conference today about legislative priorities that they might have. Is that okay?
Sure, sounds great.
Rick has a question.
Sure.
Patrick, you'll have to unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay, Kayla, who would you say has been the most helpful towards you?
I have mentors that are very helpful when it comes down to classes because I need the extra help. But my parents are my role models, and they are literally the best. And my parents are my big supporters, as well as family and friends. And not just because my mom's sitting over there either.
Kayla, what's the main thing in Congress that's coming up that you really need work on or help on, or suggestions?
Like I said earlier, if you testify to 886 law syndrome, you can get out of our phone to action alerts. And then if you want to personally call your legislator or congressperson and tell them about the marriage access of people with special abilities, or talk about transformation, absolutely yes. If you want to get a Zoom meeting with them even better. Just being able to share your personal story. That's what matters the most, as well as being a self-advocate. It's hard for them to say no to a self-advocate.
Hey, Kayla, maybe if you want to touch on how, for our Buddy Walk on Washington, how we focus on those different topics when we meet with legislators, you know, how we go unprepared for the meeting, talking about specific issues related to their jurisdictions.
Absolutely. So with our Buddy Walk on Washington, is a 2-day advocacy conference. So the first day we talk about how to have a good meeting and not a poor one. Being able to present yourself well, being able to have notes if you need notes, or leave behind in a bio to be able to talk about the information to its full extent. So you can get paid the same amount and have this, first you see, like being phased out in the next 60 years. And of course, the Mayor's Act says how it's important to you and how it affects you personally. And it kind of goes back to telling your personal story and having those asks in there. In the past, we have also talked about education and employment and how it relates to you personally. Then on the second day, this is when you go up on the hill. We storm the hill we shake the hill and we take it by storm, because we have meetings all day from like 9 to 5. And you go and you lobby that congressperson, telling them, this is my personal story. These are the acts that we have. Either can you help us or take a lead on this. And then what we love to see is pictures and how you do in your meetings. So you can take a picture. That is definitely worth 1,000 words. So we love that.
Okay, honey, thank you.
And it's okay to be nervous. We are human beings. It's a basic need to be nervous. Completely understood.
We have the rights, you know, we have the knowledge, we have the right to do things in our lives that make us, what do I want to say, Darla? Make us
the same
as anybody else. You know,
exactly.
We're not different, because everybody thinks we're different and we're not. You know, some of us learn differently than others, but we still learn. You know,
exactly.
You just can't throw our hands up and say, oh, well, this, you know, this is not working. Well, yeah, it will if you just take the time, you know, and be patient.
Or it may not work one way, but you may have to make it
work another way.
So can I give you an example?
Sure, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So I was doing a speech in Syracuse. It was in front of 2,000 people, no doubt. And me and my mom were in the parking lot, and my mom was driving. And my mom was nervous. Was in car after car driving. And mom was like, Kayla, are you nervous? I'm like, no, I'm ready, let's go. And it was incredible getting 2 standing ovations. But it was the fact that I wasn't nervous and I could talk to anybody, because this is what I like to say. We all wear the pants one leg at a time.
That's it. We put our pants on one leg at a time.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the speech went very well.
Oh, I love it.
Hey, Kayla. I got a question for you.
Please.
I got another question. Have you ever met President Trump?
I have not. I've seen him on TV.
You haven't seen him in person yet, huh?
No. And anybody that does?
What's the difference between calling up, getting that relationship, advocating, which we could certainly do, and officially being a lobbyist? What makes you a lobbyist that's different from our folks going and advocating for the laws that they need passed? Is there a simple explanation on what the difference is?
So a lobbyist is somebody that goes in and helps enact laws and help them to get them passed. And I'm not saying it's not advocating. I'm still advocating no matter what. Just a lobbyist just helps enact laws. Whereas when you go to advocate, you're sharing your voice and you're sharing your personal story. You're just doing it on a different level. And that's absolutely okay. It's just what you're more comfortable with. There's a lobbyist is someone who enacts the laws and help get them passed.
Okay.
So Kayla, I know you briefly touched on some of the topics related to COVID. Do you mind going over those again quickly? Some specific issues related to COVID and people with disabilities?
So with COVID, there's funding for Medicaid, home, and community-based services. And it's these services that keep people with disabilities home, then in the community, and then out in the congregate settings where this virus will spread. And that funding is definitely crucial. And then there's this act called CARES Act. And this is where Americans will receive a check, the stimulus check. But you have dependents that are 16 and under, they get $500 from their families or caregivers. But anyone over that age, like me, that I would miss out on that funding. But other individuals with Down syndrome and other disabilities have to be claimed as dependents. When they're adults, then they definitely miss out. And then when these checks are included, and when we want these checks to include adults with Down syndrome and other different abilities as well. And then with students in schools, we have the compensatory services. And so students with Down syndrome and other abilities, they rely on services that they need in school. And unfortunately, because there's no schools to be had, the students cannot effectively receive these services. But once they're back to normal, hopefully, the students can catch up and they rely on this compensatory service to make that happen. So that's why we want to talk to our policymakers to discuss this.
That's very interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Let me ask you, if I could ask one more question. You said that we want people to tell their story, but I've also been in some webinars where they said they don't want to hear your life story. So you don't want to tell everything. You want to talk how that impacts the piece of legislation that you're talking about. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, it is a fair statement. And yes, you want to tell them a little bit about you, like your background, and tell them like where you're from. But you also want to cut to the chase and not beat around the bush, so to speak, and making sure that you have those talking points about this legislation that you want to achieve, and that they have that in the forefront of their minds to discuss that explicitly. I hope that helps.
It's very helpful. I know Tracy is on with us today, and we haven't heard much from Tracy, but she has some great examples of legislative outreach that she has done. I wonder, Tracy, if you could share those, and then Kayla, if you can think of any other examples, that would be wonderful.
Yeah.
Guys, I've just been sitting back listening to everybody. Yeah, I had a good friend who was a state senator here, and he was actually one of my school principals. So my and connecting up with him. Is there any ways that we can federal representatives more?
So I know it was difficult to hear. I think the connection is not great, but Tracy has a wonderful relationship with a state representative, and she really has been able to work hard to use that. I think at the very end, she was asking if there's anybody that you know of at the federal level that we could reach out to. And I know very quickly I could tell her that it could be Senator Capito or Senator Manchin or Congressman McKinley or Mooney in our area. Did I leave anybody out, Doug?
So what was the question, Elizabeth? Sorry.
That's okay. Tracy was wondering if there was anybody at the national level that you would recommend reaching out to.
So if you go to ndss.org and you need help to find who your affiliates are, you can go, we have a map that you can definitely check out, and that will help you get to who you need to talk to. Sometimes, I hope that helps.
Yes.
But it's also important to build those relationships as well, because that is definitely helpful and important.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Tracy.
Great question, Tracy.
Yes.
Do you typically meet with the actual senator or House member, or do you also sometimes meet with their staff? Because some people have the idea that if you're not meeting with the actual senator or representative, you're not getting any, and we know that the staff people working in the office are on the front lines as well and are very helpful as well. So do you also have meetings with some of the staff people as well to get the message to somebody? Like now, if they're voting on the floor, you can't call them up and talk to them.
No. But yes, I've talked to plenty of staffers about these issues.
Okay.
And they are just as effective because they do bring the message to that congressman or woman or assemblyman or woman, and they do pass on the message. So it's just as important to talk to our staffer as well. I've spoken to both.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, we have just about 8 minutes left. I wonder if it might not be a bad idea just to go around and ask each person what is important to them at the legislative level. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's a great idea.
All right, will you moderate that because you can see everybody and I'll take notes. How's that? Is that a deal?
Alrighty.
And
Well,
Kayla, anytime you have an idea, you jump in and let us know.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to kind of go as I see them on the screen, and my screen's going to look different than everybody else's, but the first on my list are, and it moves whenever anyone talks, but right now I see Darla and Charlotte. Do you all have anything? And then next will be Tara Roush on deck.
The only thing that comes to my mind is, you know, we really need to focus and get help on is the housing stuff for people with disabilities. The apartments that we have here are awful. You know, there's no excess where I live hardly at all. And I would really like to talk to them and see which direction we can go into. Because it's a mess where I live. I mean, it's not a bad area. It's country, but still, I mean, the apartment buildings are, it's just, you know, it's so hard for people that are old to get to the mailbox. There's no way to get from point A to point B if you're in a wheelchair. It's just a nightmare, you know, and you know, they're saying they don't have to do it. I've talked with them. I mean, I'm kind of on board. I'm trying to, you know, I talked to Paulette and she came out, I don't know, it's been a while, but with all this Corona stuff, it's just hard to get anything done right now. And I understand that, you know, but the parking lot's terrible. You know, the roofs are about ready to freaking fall in and they're not doing nothing, you know. I thought I smelled fire last night in my bedroom. And I thought, oh boy, am I going to burn down or what? You know, so I'm not sure who to talk to that about. It's got to be the legislators, though. It's got to be people that, you know, that don't want our buildings burnt down, you know, for people with disabilities. And it's just, it's pretty bad, you know, because they haven't replaced those windows for like ever.
So if you are interested, we had our adult summit back in May, and we talked about housing and community integration. if you want to check out that piece on our website.
Thank you. Darla,
Sure.
did you have anything to add?
I agree with Aunt Char. We need more accessible housing because in Morgantown there's not very much. There's a lot of housing, but it's not accessible and it's nowhere near affordable.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Connie and Roger Byers.
The bus bill being passed.
Bus bill?
Good.
Yeah.
Connie and Roger brought up a great topic. Maybe we could finish out with Kayla talking about transportation, and then throughout the rest of the conference, we can check in with the rest of the participants about their legislative issue.
Okay. So Kayla, just to kind of bring you up there, there's been a big concern about transportation, especially here in rural West Virginia. Big cities have some bus lines, but it's tough even when you get outside of the main cities. And so what's your thoughts about transportation from your perspective? And is that an issue that goes on where you live as well? And what can you say about that?
I would say yes, transportation is very important, and that yes, you should try to get around independently if you can. But if not, I know there's Uber, there's Lyft, I know there's buses, and I know sometimes they're reliable, sometimes they're not reliable. It's just hard to speak to because I have transportation, and it's just, if it's not the greatest, then try to find a route that you think is that pertains to you and that works for you. I definitely talk to legislators, your local legislators, and see what they can do about adding the bus routes, the bus lines and routes, and see what works. And if you need help finding those affiliates, we can help you find out who the best person is to talk to.
Okay.
Well, Kayla, we really appreciate your great information, your time, and your inspiring story. You know, it takes a lot to really follow one's dream, and I admire that not only professionally, but you're following your education goals as well. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I know everybody can't do this if they're on mute, but we all just really need to give you a big round of applause. And thanks, Sydney, as well. So thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Sydney.
Thank you so much. I am so honored.